The luxurious dining hall glowed under golden lights as Billionaire sat composed, while Maid stood nearby, hands trembling under silent pressure. Victoria leaned back in chair with a mocking smile, whispering to Charlotte, both exchanging amused glances that carried hidden cruelty. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. Charlotte covered mouth while laughing softly, eyes fixed on Maid as if the moment was arranged entertainment rather than a simple dinner gathering. Maid lowered gaze, holding tray tightly, short curly hair slightly trembling, trying to stay invisible in a place where dignity felt unwelcome. Victoria raised voice slightly, making sure Billionaire could hear, turning the moment into a public joke disguised as casual conversation. Charlotte nodded along, adding small remarks, each word carefully placed to make Maid feel smaller without breaking social boundaries. Billionaire remained silent, calm expression unchanged, but eyes slowly shifted toward Maid, observing pain that others chose to ignore. The soft candlelight reflected on Maid's tearful eyes, revealing silent humiliation, building behind forced composure and controlled breathing. Victoria laughed louder this time, drawing attention from nearby guests, turning Maid into center of unwanted attention inside the elegant room. Charlotte leaned closer, whispering something sharper, and both shared another laugh as if dignity of Maid carried no value at all. Billionaire's hand rested still on table, but tension grew in silence, a quiet shift forming that no one at the table noticed yet. Maid placed the tray carefully on the table, fingers slightly shaking, trying to maintain balance while the weight of humiliation grew heavier. Victoria glanced at Charlotte with a smirk, then looked at Maid as if evaluating presence, turning a simple task into a moment of judgment. Charlotte adjusted posture elegantly, whispering another remark, both sharing laughter that echoed softly but cut deeply through Maid's silence. Maid stepped back slowly, eyes lowered, avoiding eye contact, knowing every glance from the table carried silent criticism and rejection. Victoria lifted the glass gracefully, pretending sophistication, but eyes stayed fixed on Maid, treating presence like an unexpected disturbance. Charlotte nodded with a faint smile, adding subtle comments, making the situation feel planned, as if Maid was invited only for amusement. Billionaire observed quietly, expression calm, but eyes sharper now, noticing every detail others overlooked or chose to ignore intentionally. The room remained filled with elegance, yet tension grew unseen, hidden beneath polished manners and controlled voices around the table. Maid tried to step away from the table, but Victoria's voice stopped the movement, calling Maid back with a tone wrapped in mock politeness. Charlotte leaned back, crossing arms slightly, waiting with interest, as if expecting another moment that would entertain rather than respect. Maid turned slowly, heart heavy, standing again near the table, feeling trapped between duty and silent humiliation growing stronger. Billionaire's gaze followed Maid, silence still present, but something inside that calm exterior began shifting toward a quiet decision. Victoria tapped the table lightly, calling Maid closer again, tone soft on surface, but carrying a sharp edge that demanded attention. Charlotte watched with interest, slight smile growing, as if the moment unfolding was planned for amusement rather than simple interaction. Maid stepped forward slowly, hands joined near apron, trying to remain composed while eyes avoided the mocking faces across the table. Victoria tilted head slightly, examining Maid from top to bottom, turning presence into a silent inspection filled with hidden judgment. Charlotte leaned forward, whispering something that triggered another quiet laugh, both enjoying control over the uncomfortable moment. Maid stood still, breathing carefully, holding back tears, knowing any reaction would only invite more laughter and deeper humiliation. Victoria raised a question casually, voice calm, but intention clear, forcing Maid into a position where silence felt like weakness. Charlotte added a follow-up comment, making the situation tighter, leaving no space for dignity or escape in that elegant setting. Maid tried to respond softly, voice shaking, words barely forming under pressure, revealing pain hidden beneath professional duty. The surrounding guests noticed tension but chose silence, letting the moment continue as entertainment rather than stepping forward. Billionaire's fingers moved slightly on the table, expression still controlled, but eyes now carried a quiet firmness, building slowly. The air grew heavier with each passing second as the line between casual dinner and public humiliation started fading completely. Victoria leaned back with a satisfied smile, enjoying control over the moment as Maid stood frozen, caught in a situation without escape. Charlotte lifted the glass slowly, eyes still on Maid, as if watching a performance, waiting for another reaction to laugh at quietly. Maid's fingers tightened around the edge of the apron, breathing uneven, trying to hold composure while emotions pressed harder inside. Victoria spoke again, tone light but words sharp, questioning worth in a way that made the entire table fall into an uneasy silence. Charlotte nodded slightly, adding a remark that deepened the discomfort, turning the situation into something far more personal and cruel. Maid lowered head further, tears forming again, shoulders slightly shaking, struggling to remain strong in front of judging eyes. The golden lights above continued glowing, but warmth of the room no longer reached Maid, replaced by cold waves of humiliation. Billionaire shifted posture slightly, eyes now fixed on Victoria and Charlotte, observing the behavior without interrupting just yet. Victoria laughed again, louder this time, drawing more attention, turning the moment into open humiliation rather than subtle mockery. Charlotte covered mouth briefly, but laughter continued as if the discomfort of Maid carried no importance in that elegant setting. Maid stood silently, pain visible yet still holding position, showing strength even when dignity was being tested repeatedly. Billionaire's hand slowly moved closer on the table, tension rising quietly, signaling that silence would not last much longer. Victoria placed the glass down with a soft sound, eyes still fixed on Maid, as if expecting a reaction that could entertain the table again. Charlotte leaned slightly forward, smile unchanged, enjoying the silence that made Maid's discomfort even more visible in the room. Maid stood still, breathing heavier now, trying to hold back tears, but the weight of every word spoken continued pressing deeper. Victoria spoke once more, voice calm, but filled with subtle insult, questioning presence in a way that felt deliberate and personal. Charlotte added a quiet laugh, turning the moment into shared amusement, reinforcing the idea that Maid did not belong at the table. Maid's eyes filled again, tears finally slipping down slowly, reflecting the candlelight as silent pain became impossible to hide. The surrounding guests remained quiet, avoiding eye contact, choosing comfort over courage, while the moment unfolded painfully. Billionaire's expression hardened slightly, calm exterior still present, but eyes now carried a clear shift toward something firm. Victoria noticed the silence, but continued, pushing further, unaware that the balance of the situation was quietly changing.
You'll never know.
Charlotte whispered something again, both sharing a brief laugh, unaware that the atmosphere had begun to turn against them. Maid remained in place, tears visible, but posture still held, showing quiet strength even when respect was being denied repeatedly. Billionaire's hand slowly moved across the table, approaching Maid's trembling hand, signaling a moment no one expected. Billionaire's hand gently reached Maid's trembling hand on the table, a calm but powerful gesture that instantly shifted the energy. Maid froze for a moment, eyes widening slightly, not expecting support in a place where every moment had felt isolating and hard. Victoria's smile slowly faded, expression turning uncertain as the unexpected gesture broke the rhythm of control completely. Charlotte straightened posture, confusion replacing amusement, realizing the situation was no longer moving in the expected direction. Maid looked down at the joined hands, tears still present, but now mixed with a feeling that had been missing since entering the room. The soft candlelight reflected on the moment, turning a simple touch into something meaningful that spoke louder than any words. Victoria glanced at Charlotte quickly, searching for reassurance, but silence answered back as confidence started slipping away. Charlotte remained still, lips pressed together, understanding that the dynamic at the table had shifted beyond control. Billionaire finally lifted gaze, calm eyes now firm, directing attention toward Victoria and Charlotte without raising voice. The room grew silent, even distant conversations faded, as every person present sensed a turning point unfolding quietly. Maid's breathing slowly steadied, shoulders lifting slightly, as presence no longer felt invisible or unwanted in that moment. Billionaire maintained the gesture without hesitation, making it clear that respect would no longer be optional at this table. Billionaire slowly stood up from the chair, still holding Maid's hand, a calm rise that carried more authority than any loud reaction. Maid looked up with surprise, tears still present, but now mixed with something stronger, a quiet sense of dignity returning. Victoria shifted uncomfortably in the chair, confidence fading, realizing the situation had moved beyond control and expectation. Charlotte lowered gaze briefly, unable to maintain the earlier smirk, as the weight of the moment settled heavily on the table. Billionaire turned slightly toward Victoria and Charlotte, expression firm, silence used as a message stronger than direct words. The surrounding guests watched closely now, attention fully drawn, no longer ignoring the moment that demanded acknowledgement. Maid stood beside Billionaire, posture slowly straightening, no longer shrinking under the pressure that once felt overwhelming. Victoria attempted to speak, but words did not form easily, as confidence gave way to uncertainty and visible discomfort. Charlotte remained quiet, hands still, understanding that the earlier laughter now carried a cost that could not be avoided. Billionaire released Maid's hand gently, but presence remained strong, signaling that support was not temporary or symbolic. The room held its breath in silence, waiting for what would come next, as tension reached its highest point. Maid wiped tears slowly, standing with renewed strength as the moment of humiliation transformed into something entirely different. Billionaire finally spoke, voice calm yet firm, addressing the table with clarity that carried weight far beyond simple words. Victoria lowered gaze instantly, unable to hold eye contact as the earlier confidence dissolved into visible regret and discomfort. Charlotte remained silent, expression tense, realizing the laughter from before had crossed a line that could not be undone easily. Maid stood quietly beside the table, eyes still moist, but posture strong, no longer carrying the same visible fear from before. Billionaire made it clear without raising voice that respect was not optional, and dignity could not be measured by appearance. The surrounding guests listened carefully, the silence now filled with realization as the atmosphere shifted toward reflection. Victoria's face showed regret, the mocking tone gone completely, replaced by an awareness of the damage already done. Charlotte glanced briefly toward Maid, but no words came as guilt quietly replaced the earlier sense of amusement. Maid took a slow breath, holding composure, feeling a quiet sense of justice, without needing to speak or react further. Billionaire returned to the seat calmly, the message already delivered, leaving the room in a silence filled with meaning. The dinner continued, but nothing felt the same, as every person present carried the weight of what had just unfolded. The story ends here, but the mystery lives on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.